A. Dick Vickers, Mr. Zachary Crum. Crum, how's it feel to be a winner?
Pretty good. I will say, like, Belcher's a pretty good matchup, game one for Scam.
Oh, yeah, you just ripped that hand apart.
Yeah, I literally got to take his second mana source. He did not draw an untap one, and he proceeded to not draw a third land, and I just went turn a +1/+1 counter Grief sideways into Monkey sideways.
And eventually it just got, his life total got down to the point where I was like, yeah, I don't have a way to deal with it. You got it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about game two. Game two, Mold of 4.
Yes.
Scary. And then he drops that ley line, so you're like, all right, even if you did have like a turn one Grief, you're like, well, can't really do much with it. But then I saw that Fury pop down on turn 2 or 3, and I was like, well, that's probably just it for Crum. And then you just rebuilt like the resilience in this deck.
Yes.
On a Mold of 4 against a board wipe, essentially.
Yes.
I mean, you just got left with an elemental. So, like, what was the real resilience there besides the Fable? Like, Fable's a heck of a card.
Yes.
What was the real resilience there? Like, you drew really hot.
Yes.
That drew really hot.
That was a big part. Like, vomiting, like, 6 power on turn 3, pitching 2 redundant monkeys. Because usually I don't anticipate, like, I look to connect with monkey once.
Right.
Maybe twice, and
if
then
you're
that's
lucky.
that. Yeah, that's it. Like, they don't stick around. And once they get hit once or twice, they're not going to let the third or second monkey cross the finish line. So in that situation, that's why I dumped him. I was just looking for anything that had power toughness.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't have to worry about Blood Moon out of him, though he might have kept it in to fix his tap lands.
Right. That way he's just able to, get in with the, not the Valakut Awakening.
Just any, like, of his, what should be bolt lands, he can just drop them.
Right.
Instead of them being awkward, like white, green, colors he doesn't necessarily want. They're all red, which is fine because you're just looking to Ritual, Ironcrag, Charbelcher, win.
Right.
So I was just doing that, and I'm just like, anything that has power and toughness, because I find with Scam, once you destroy them with that turn 1 Grief in the first game, people will keep statistically subpar hands against it. And if you just have the ability to just either not scam and just play traditional Magic, like Go Monkey, into 3-drop, just accrue too much value for them to deal with. Or you can try it again. The 7 I had to throw back. My opener was Fury, Grief, Terminate, Fable, and Lance for the remainder. So I wanted to keep that, but no Undying Piece, because if he had dropped that, I would have just been like, okay, Fury. You would have closed it quicker, but...
So, I mean, I don't want to say, like, I saw you had the Fable in hand. I was like, that Fable is what's going to bring him back in this game, because it's going to create a 2/2 body. That 2/2 body, if it gets to swing, is going to create treasure. Yeah. It's going to get to shape his hand a little bit. The second chapter, like, I knew Fable was going to be a key card in that matchup after I saw that board wipe.
Yes.
Like, I knew Fable was really... Fable's just an all-star card in Modern.
Yes, it is an all-star form. It's an all-star card in any format it is currently legal in.
No, it's an amazing card. I don't know that it's like ban list worthy, but it is just a perfectly powered card.
Yeah. The only thing is, I think they shot a little high with the power level for standard. I think it's a little much, getting essentially 2 relevant pieces of cardboard in the token and the Fate Reflection of
Fate, the enchantment itself. Yeah.
And you, in the middle of all that, you get a loot effect. You just pitch 2 presumably dead cards in the matchup for hopefully 2 relevant ones, or at least better.
Oh, can you imagine? I didn't get to play Kamigawa Sealed.
I played. It was real good if you drafted.
Like, Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Sealed or draft, just you can't lose, right? If you got that card in the Sealed or the draft.
Like, it's either like it's late game and they just need that pump spell to get flying or something, or like if you resolve that right on curve, it's probably over because you've fixed your hand so much. Like whether it's Screw or Flood, you've gotten the worst cards out of your hand for hopefully better ones, and you've gotten and not for nothing if you like it makes it super easy to splash and that's sealed because like even just itself you just keep copying the token so you keep getting 2 treasures every turn and then you just ramp into I don't know like one of the big dumb dragons or something like that.
Right. Well, Crum, I appreciate you popping in here.
No problem.
Giving a brief little victory lap, if you will. And then you're 2-0, so we should see more of you in here,
hopefully.
Or at least on the screen. So hopefully to see you more in here. Vickers did say he was going to run the tables tonight. And then he said, you will see me again on stream. And right before he left, he said, my mouth probably is going to make me lose this.
Yeah.
And then just what he did to John on round 1, you reciprocated to him round 2.
I mean, that is the thing. Like, and Scam has this not to the same extent as Belcher, but it does have that, like, it can just fall flat on its face.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm aware of.
It can be glass cannon-y.
Yeah, that's why I took that mold of 4, because I'm like, that, like, it was one hand that was just unkeepable, that was like no land, so obviously that was a throwback. And then it was like 2 subpar ones that maybe if you get lucky work, and you can't hope to get lucky. You just have to go with what you've got there. You can hope to draw better, you can swam that Fable, swam that Spyro, but if you don't have a plan like that, I'm going to, on turn 2, do this. You're probably not keeping that hand.
Well, Max said it best. He said, Vickers is about to get crumbed on. And crumbed on he did. But, Crum, hope to see you back in here, man.
No problem.
Those watching, we'll be right back. Enjoy this music. Compliments of America. Oh, first time chat. Ragavan needs to be banned. It had overran the format for far too long. What are your thoughts on that?
I can't... I will agree that it should have never been printed. It is too much.
So here's the thing with Ragavan, right? I've talked about this with some of the Magic, with some of the other Glizzies, and you know, I mentioned it while you guys were playing. Aaron and I were talking about it in between. Yeah. With Ragavan in the format, you know, the other 1-drop that's just a notch above Ragavan, Deathrite Shaman.
Yes.
You know, I feel. As long as Ragavan's in the format, you should be able to have Deathrite Shaman.
I agree. That's
like, I agree with you. The Great White Round one, I agree with you. Ragavan, I don't know that it needs to be banned because there are a lot of answers to it. But Ragavan, it is one of those cards that is easy to deal with, but it requires you to have some concession in your deck building choices.
To an extent, what my thing with Ragavan is, it is killable. Like, and it does force the modern metagame into this thing where you have to, and I don't think it is an unfair ask to be like, can you kill a 1 toughness creature on turn 1?
On turn 1, you have Bolt, you have Push, you have Solitude, you have Fury. You can Thought Seize it. You can Inquisition. Like, there's a lot of different answers to Ragavan.
Yes. And one turn one. A blocker.
Right. Yeah. You could just go, like, even me personally, when I play Stoneforge, here's a Fervent Champion. It's a 1/1 first striker.
Yeah. And then they have to bolt it. Now, like, you could argue Murktide, but I do think that is more just the cascading value of that deck with things like Expressive. My thing is, like, since we have this design space open and the format has adapted, maybe, like, if you don't want to unban Deathrite Shaman, because I do remember those Grixis plus Green Legacy Delver mirrors that were abysmal. Because it was just watching 2 people and who can Deathrite better, 1. I could see why that might not be something, but I do think it's an easy fix. Like, it can only target lands anywhere. It can only target instants and sorceries in your yard.
Like,
or you only get the effect if it targets. You only lose or gain the life accordingly.
I think with a card as powerful, a 1-drop as powerful as Ragavan, it would be okay at least see how it goes for one BNR cycle.
Yes.
2, unban Deathrite as a one. It's a 1-drop. It's a powerful 1-drop like Ragavan.
Yeah.
And if they unban Deathrite, I think Jund takes over the format again, especially with the addition of the invasion of Ikoria.
I have played the. I don't think it is. It's not Jund as we know. I have played, and I have enjoyed the Sultai Shadow list with Invasion of Ikoria. The thing is, you're looking at a different deck. Like, I think the old days of Jund with Deathrite, Splash White for, like, Lingering Souls, which it didn't even really splash. I think it just ran a Deathrite, and it sort of fixed itself somehow. Because you could just, worst case, you would just pitch it to Liliana and just cast it on the back, which you didn't need the white for. Anyway, I do think it changes it. My real fear is the return of the 5-color, what they would quote unquote be 5 colors, the 4-color piles, the Omnath, Teferi, and
I'm not saying unban Shaman. I'm not saying that. Like, what I'm saying is with Ragavan in the format, that power level I think is right there on the same level as Deathrite.
Yes.
So I can see why you'd want to ban Ragavan, but if you're going to keep it in the format for as long as it is, as you said, why not see what happens when you bring another powerful 1-drop in to maybe help kind of balance that Ragavan a bit?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
And I will say, though, there are, like, I believe that there is room for a Deathrite light card, but I think a lot of, and there, I will say, like, as many questionable things Wizards has done with the Horizons blocks, they have done some balancing on Ragavan. For example, it is legendary. Which, I know this is weird to say Ragavan in balance, like, we all agree it shouldn't have been printed, but there are some safety measures. Like, being legendary, you can't sit down and double dip on them like you can with Shaman.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah. You know what? Maybe that fixes Shaman. Make Shaman legendary. Maybe that fixes it.
Oh, I think you could just say the effect, you only get the extra mana, you only get the life, if you target the whatever, like, because I think it's tap in black, and it domes it for 2 if you eat an instant or sorcery. You green.
The
and
green
tap.
is the mana.
Yeah, no, the green. No, tap is the mana.
Tap
green
is the mana.
Is gain 2 or
drain
3.
and gain.
No, it's only drain on the black one, and it's gain 2 or 3. And I think if you just put that in the, like, in your graveyard, but you can still eat stuff from your opponents, provided you pay the corresponding color of mana, and it's legendary. You have an incredibly powerful card that is limited, and maybe even then you wouldn't need the legendary because you're competing with your own.
So tap, exile a land, create a mana.
Yes.
Black, tap, exile an instant, lose life.
Okay.
Exile target. Green, tap, exile target creature, gain 2. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
What are your all's thoughts on 8-rack given the current modern meta? I kind of don't mind a mono black scam with Grief Rack. I don't hate that.
I actually played in the Mana Traders a while ago, and it actually managed to beat me. It was close. I was on Murktide. I like the more artifact version, where you were playing cards like Urza Saga, because it doesn't get Shrieking Affliction, but it gets your actual titular rat cards. Mm-hmm. You have, like, and then you're making the tokens. Now, I don't think you're ensnaring Bridge deck anymore, just because you kind of have a beatdown angle.
Probably not an ensnaring Bridge deck, no.
Yeah.
Jeff is the resident 8-rack connoisseur. Yeah. We do have a resident 8-rack connoisseur. He played Jeff hasn't played rack in probably 2-3 years was the last time he just played it for an FNM.
I was impressed by it in the Mana Traders. It has a lot of power that you wouldn't expect, because it was back and forth, and I resolved a couple expressives, and like the last game against it, literally it was them or me, and they happened to get just that last hit in with a Construct token, or just enough so that I die to the rack effect.
I would like to see decks like Rack make a comeback into the modern format as a whole. Maybe not tier 1, but something that you would be able to sit down at a big tournament and be
Yeah.
like, I might see Rack today.
Yes.
I'd like to see it in that capacity.
Bit like, as much as I don't, because I always run into it every week, Merfolk.
I'm wanting to play Rack, but think it may just be too slow given the current meta. Well, I think like a Scammed Grief would help Rack in that way.
And don't forget, you have cards like Dalthy Voidwalker, and like I said, I was very pleasantly surprised by just the power. I mean, granted, you are kind of just in on the fact Urza Saga is a busted Modern Horizons 2 card, not as bad as Ragavan, admittedly.
So, like, you get the Shrieking Affliction, you have the Ensnaring Bridge, or not the Ensnaring Bridge, the Shrieking Affliction, the Rack. Is it not Sanguine Bond?
Shrieking Affliction, Rack, and then he was just on a bunch of value artifacts, like Nihil Spellbomb, like that hosed my Murktide, keeping those trapped in hand long enough for me to just lose to Shrieking Affliction and Rack damage. You have Soul Guide Lantern too, not for nothing.
I think if you want the aggressive route with the Scammed Grief, you don't play Bridge. I think if you want a more resilient, not as glass cannon-y type version of the Rack, I think you play Ensnaring Bridge and just a more classic Rack list.
Yes. I don't know. I still like Urza Saga. I even almost saw Lantern Control back with that.
Strongly considered putting Throne of Eldraine in Rack. What card from Throne?
Yeah.
Was there an actual card called Throne of Eldraine? Or is there a battle for Eldraine?
There is a...
What card are you talking about, my friend?
It feels like if there isn't a battle for Eldraine, there should be.
Invasion of an Eldraine. Okay. Well, let's see what it is. No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say I don't know that one off the top of
my head. I don't have all these invasions and stuff memorized, but luckily we have this nice little MTG bot here. All right, so Invasion of Eldraine is a black and 3 battle siege. The creature is a 2/2 fairy.
Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards 2 cards. And then the creature has flying at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep if that player has 2 or fewer cards in hand. Prickle Fairies deals 2 damage to them.
Okay.
So it's another Rack effect.
Yes. And it does open you up if you want to run Vampire Hex Mages, just maybe a spicier card. Now that one you could work more with Ensnaring Bridge because you do kind of have time to sit there, girdle.
You could also, I mean, given they're kind of expensive right now, run Bitter Blossom. 1/1s will swing over a bridge, draw for turn, swing your 1/1s.
Yeah.
Draw for turn, swing for 1/1s.
Yeah.
I mean, Bitter Blossom could also just be a good clock with bridge in a Rack deck.
Yeah. Realistically, the only problem for it is, and you're just going to want to, and you just have to hope to fade this card. You do have the sideboard Silver Bullet of Hitasugu Consumes All.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Hitasugu Consumes All is just one of those. For anything relying on 1 CMC or less permanent and flooding the board, it is kind of one of those things just over your head. But I would argue that EE is just as bad. I
mean, this just looks like a traditional Rack list without bridge. 19. No, that's not right. Hang on.
My only thing I saw with that is I really think even if you're not going to go all in on other artifacts, just Urza's Saga. If you're going to do the Mutavault, the one that you fired up, it's a similar thing to Mutavault, but it's a different kind of creature. It's another 2/2 colorless one. I think you just, I truly 100% do think you just play Sagas. I know they're not cheap. I remember, I think they're still up to 40 or $50 online.
This is probably more the list you're talking about with Saga. Yes. It runs 4 Rack and a Pithing Needle.
Yes.
Funeral Charm.
Yes.
Ooh.
Of course, push, because why wouldn't you?
Bloodchief's Thirst.
Yeah, I think it's a one of. Although that one I could see flexing. I'd probably put that one more on the side.
Bob.
Yeah.
Good old Bob.
I mean, I did a big order for my deck I'll be playing next week to Card Kingdom, so I did unfortunately have to get rid of my Bobs. I just sat on them for too long. But
may Bob rest in peace.
Yeah, it's just some of the things I'm playing in Modern, I can't. I don't want to like flip a Fable of the Mirror Breaker and get Dome for 3. Like, just give them 3, like a free 3
Flip
points.
a Fury, get Dome for 5.
Yeah.
Flip.
Yeah, that's why our grind card in my deck, like the kind of secret thing I'm trying tonight, is a 1 of Croxa.
Ooh.
Pitches to Fury or Grief. And, like, sometimes you can just dump it to, like, a play pattern I'm very familiar from playing Explorer on Arena. And playing a little bit of Black, Red, and Pio on MTGO. Just dump it to the Fable. You get another card in there with it, so you're probably close to it coming back out of the yard.
So, Sheriff Max says he wants a Howling Mine style deck to be viable. Is there... I can't think of anything...
Oh, is this round started?
Round May? No, I think they were watching the finals there.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick had mentioned his...
I was like...
Yeah. You guys can't see it. We can see the gameplay area on the computer here. Yeah, something was popping up. We didn't know if the round was about to start. Did you get a notification or anything?
I got a notification, but it was my Nest telling me that my sister's running a lot because it has to, because of how the weather's been down here, it's changing all the time.
I don't know, Max, I don't know of any Howling Mine
I have not seen
style decks in Modern. Howling Mine.
You're looking at a turbo fog list where you're just trying to mill your opponent out with it.
This was 8 months ago. I don't want to pull up videos. Is this Modern? This is Modern. Let's take a look here. What all we got? We have Cryptic Command, Dawn Charm, Remand. So it's a control shell.
Yeah. Okay, you're using Cryptic Command, Wraths, basically things to fog while you mill them out, so to speak, with Howling Mine.
Yeah.
Realistically, you can do that when realistically these swaps are, because this is clearly pre-MH2. You're probably you're getting Counterspell in there, some number of Solitude, because you're looking to just kill something and then chump with it, even if you cast it for 5. Like, that's still, like, you're just looking to live.
What if, isn't there is it Folio of Fancies? The blue enchantment, or blue artifact from Throne of Eldraine that says you can put a counter on it, and like a chapter counter, and essentially you mill someone for the amount of chapter counters on it. So you have something like that in a control shell, and you'd be able to maybe play a Howling Mine deck, because the Howling Mine's going to slowly... I don't know. No, because you don't want them to keep that card.
No.
You want them to be ditching it.
Yeah.
So maybe a blue-black control shell. You'd be able to get a Howling Mine deck.
You'd be looking at something like that. The problem with Modern right now is if you give them any, no matter what deck it is, it doesn't matter if it's Creativity, if it's Scam, if it's Murktide, if it's Hammer, even. Like, if you give them any, like, amount of turns to just sit around and shape a perfect 7, they will oblige you, and they will probably end you in, like, a 1-turn cycle with it. I mean, that is the problem, like...
Well, we saw with Vickers round 1, turn 2, he won. Now, obviously, Belcher's a niche deck.
Yes.
You shouldn't see it at a big Modern event. But if you do, awesome. You got to play against Belcher.
Yes.
Scam, something you will see. Obviously,
100%.
It can win explosive. And I don't know how a slower deck like a Howling Mine deck, or just something that's not able to counter a problem spell on turn 2, or deal with a problem threat on turn 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I don't know how a deck like that would do too hot.
The problem is, like, I will say, with the suite of cards we have in Modern, you're very, very good at, in like an Esper shell or something. You're very good at, or even just blue-white, you're able to lock up the ground, stop combat for a good, like, early game, you take a couple hits turn 1 or 2, but you can lock everything up by turn 3 or 4. The problem is once you get to turns 8 and 12, where you still haven't won.
Turns 8 and 12.
They're going to get back in there, and that's the thing. And you can't let these decks do that because Hammer just realistically, if you let them shape their 7, they just need one good hit.
Mm-hmm.
To, like, you can even be at 30 life and they can still down you in one hit. The same with Scam. They're just going to be like, okay, Grief, try and scam it. Okay, that didn't work. Grief, try and scam it.
Right.
And then your hand is torn apart, and they don't care that they vomited like effectively 6 cards because they're going to be drawing so many.
I'll tell you what. Anyone got any other questions before we run out and check on the round and see how many matches are left? It's a hair past a freckle. That's a good conversation, Crum. Good having you in here, buddy. You know, that filled up a lot of time here. You know, I feel like that the rounds may be probably starting to filter out.
I mean, we have 2 blue-white decks out still.
Are they playing each other is the question.
God, I hope
are
not.
They playing
God,
each
I
other?
hope not.
But yeah, y'all, that being said, we're going to go out there. We're going to check, see how many rounds are left, and hopefully it'll be a real short intermission here for you. And enjoy this music compliments of Philip Bowen. Actually was just auditioned on America's Got Talent and didn't get a golden buzzer, but he did get 4 yeses to move on to Pasadena, California, or wherever it's at. So enjoy this music compliments of him. We appreciate you tuning into the stream, and we will be right back.